All right. Well, I want to get to it because I only got 15 minutes here. So I'd like to have some pleasantries, but I feel like our time is really important and everything that you have to say, we can make a change. So we did have a Neil Thapar from the Sustainable Economies Law Center on our show last week, and he was explaining to us about the Seed Exchange Democracy Act. And this is where we're fighting, actually, just to have the rights to share seeds with each other. And I know that seeds is actually, to correct me if I'm wrong, it's kind of the core of what you've dedicated your life to, is the right for people to have access to seeds to grow food, seeds that were not genetically modified, for one thing.
Well, I've dedicated the last 30 years of my life to actually saving seeds, building the movement for seed saving and seed freedom, and resisting 5 companies controlling our seed supply and imposing, on the one hand, genetically engineered food on us through genetically engineered seed, but also through this taking patents and collecting royalties and pushing small farmers into debt. The seed law of the kind that's in California, I don't know how the word democracy has come into it. There is no democracy in that act. This act is basically saying, A, beyond 3 miles you can't exchange your seeds. 2, that you cannot use public money to develop alternatives that are needed today in times of climate change. So it has a research agenda dedicated to GMOs. Yes. But another one is an anti-democracy clause, where given that California and many counties have managed to be GMO free, like Jackson County is GMO free.
Right.
And this act is a preemption act. It is the equivalent at the state level to the Dark Act. The Dark Act is the act which has been nicknamed the Dark Act as a denial to Americans of the right to know what they're eating. This is the act that is being used, is being developed and being passed through Congress and Senate in order to prevent states from having their own GMO labeling law, like Vermont now has. Because more and more counties are making decisions at their level about what kind of food, what kind of seed, the California seed law is basically saying no level of decision making below Sacramento can make a decision on seed.
Really? So
yes.
us personally,
there are large elements of this act, and if you go to the Seed Freedom website, which is the seed movement globally, last year I actually came to California and did many trainings at the Heirloom Expo and produced a whole document called Seed Satyagraha. Now, seed, of course, is seed. Satyagraha is Gandhi's word for the force of truth. And we use the term seed satyagraha to both speak the truth about seed, but also give a call for not cooperating with unjust law, like Thoreau did against slavery, like Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement.
You're talking about us as citizens.
Yes.
That this is the action that we need to take as citizens.
Exactly.
We need to recognize this as an unjust law.
But I'm asking you to go and read and circulate that Seed Satyagraha document, because it has all the elements. It is not just about small level seed exchange. It is about killing democracy. This act, and every time such acts have been passed, in India in 2004, we fought against it through the Satyagraha. 2014, they tried in Europe. We worked with European parliaments, made 1,200 amendments. That act had to be rolled back. Colombia, similar acts had to be rolled back. Chile, these acts had to be rolled back. So California, it is not about just seed exchange. It is of taking away the rights of citizens.
And why seeds? What do they see as the power in seeds and controlling the seeds and therefore controlling people?
Well, the first issue is that food begins as seed. All food begins as seed. So to control the food system, if you control seed, then you got the ultimate control. As I have often said,
people.
Yeah, as I have often said, when Henry Kissinger during the Vietnam War used the term that food is a weapon. And he had said, when you control arms, you control armies. But when you control food, you control societies. But if you control seed, you control life on earth. You control the renewal potential of life on earth.
What a visionary. He totally saw that. He totally saw that back then.
So what you need, but he didn't see it in a positive way. He wanted to use it as an instrument of control.
Oh, that's how he was looking at it.
Well, Henry Kissinger, come on. He wasn't a liberator of the peoples of the world.
He's been responsible for how many deaths?
Yes. So the issue of why is the seed important? Because not only does control of the seed mean control over food, but control over seed and imposition of GMOs means super profits. I started saving seeds because I was at a meeting in 1987 where the poison industry that's destroying the health of the planet and health of people actually said as much straight. They said, we will do genetic engineering in order to take patents to make sure only our seeds are bought by farmers and they don't have their own seed. And we will create international free trade agreements with clauses of intellectual property rights that make such regimes the only way. So we are talking about a very fundamental totalitarianism that has been imagined by the 5 poison makers, who are now seeking control over the seed, and already they control large parts of the seed supply. Hundreds of thousands of seed companies have been
under their control,
bought by them, owned by them, or licensed to them. And that's another reason it's very important to recognize that the rights that we as citizens have to defend is not merely the right to have 5 little seeds in a seed library, but to be able to have seed businesses that bring good seed to the market. Seed businesses have rights. And this law makes all heirloom seed businesses illegal. So it's not only about seed saving. It is about seed saving, seed exchange, seed breeding, seed selling, and the right to make decisions about seed. So it's a very broad, very broad law with huge implications. And I do want to tell Californians who think they are the most evolved in democracy that this kind of law has been knocked out in every other part of the world, and it would be a shame if Californian citizens get misled that this is only about a little seed library in a little corner. It won't affect us. It's taking away your rights, including the rights of those who are working hard to bring you good seed for your gardens.
And what about contamination?
Sources of non-GM seed have to be defended as businesses just as much as businesses that are non-GMO food producers have to be there to be the countervailing force to this toxic industry.
Are our seeds at risk of contamination globally by GMOs?
Even before they're at risk of contamination, they're at risk of disappearance. 93% of the seeds of the world have gone because of industrial agriculture.
Well, I know that doctors...
about the biggest extinction in the world. Sadly, most people who look at extinction only look at wild species. They don't look at agricultural diversity.
That is such an important point. I mean, because the diversity is really our security.
It is,
absolutely. And we
lost that diversity. I would come back to the fact that the California seed law is not just about keeping a space open for seed libraries. It is about having diversity in our fields so that we can deal with climate change. diversity on our plates so that we don't have deficient diets and ill health, which is the subject of your talk.
How should we feel about food? What has happened between people and food? The disconnect. That what have we lost that we should be feeling about food?
Right. But you can never disconnect yourself from food because you live because you eat. But if you eat toxic food, then you're a diseased being, which is why the epidemic of new diseases is so severe. We've never had cancers at the rate people are getting cancers. Obesity is a total contemporary disease of metabolism. Linked to it, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular, neurological problems, and all of these have their roots in the diet, in the way we grow our food and what we are eating. So what we've lost basically in handing over power to 5 corporations, 5 seed corporations, 5 trade corporations, 5 processing corporations, literally 5 giants who are writing the rules of trade in the world. And these giants are not just stealing our freedom to have good food. They are stealing our knowledge and democracy. They are preventing us from knowing what's in our food, which is why the labeling law is so intense. Think of it, 64 countries of the world have mandatory labeling of GMOs. And when the Californians tried, millions were poured to mislead people. Why are they so afraid of labeling? They are literally stealing our freedom to know, our right to know, our right to have good food, and good food is not a luxury. Because every cell in our body and every bit of our life gets affected by the kind of food you eat. You eat toxic food, you're going to have disease.
It even affects how you think, I believe, and it makes me sad that so many children nowadays don't even know what really good food tastes like. I grew up
saying in America is that already 1 in 35 children have become autistic. 1 in 35. And at this rate of explosion, 1 in 2 will be autistic a few decades down the line. Now, can you imagine an entire society where half the people are not able to function without help?
Who's going to take care of who?
Exactly. And there's so much denial, and the worst lie is things like Roundup and glyphosate cannot affect human beings because we don't have the shikimate pathway. Now that's the pathway in the plants which is disrupted when Roundup is sprayed on plants, which is how it acts as a herbicide. But what Monsanto doesn't let people know, and it lies, it's a scientific lie when it says doesn't affect humans, that we are primarily bacteria and our gut has bacteria that are vital to our physical and mental health. Now, those bacteria have the shikimate pathway. So when Roundup Ready crops are spread and Roundup is spread and residues of glyphosate go into our gut, they are killing the bacteria that then release the neurotransmitters that allow our brains to function. Which is why such huge. There is now new recognition that the gut and the brain are connected. My work is based on showing the relationships between the soil and our health.
And
the gut and the brain are connected. And I really feel what is being done is a crime. That is why we are organizing an International People's Tribunal, you say in America, on Monsanto on 15th and 16th of October. 16th of October is World Food Day. I think everywhere in the world, people should start questioning the food they're eating, the corporations that are feeding them poisons and toxics. And we need to reclaim our food. That is food democracy. Thank you so much, Elaine. We'll have to wrap up now.
Okay, well, I just wanted to share one quick thing with you. I just wanted to show you something. This right here is my my mother's yearbook from 1951. And when I look through this yearbook at the people in this yearbook, I cannot find one overweight person.
Exactly.
Not one.
No, it's
Now, I don't even
disease.
see cellulite on any of them. All of their bodies are, as a dietitian, when I look at them, I think that's a perfect body. And even I see bodies now and they're not even in proportion. They almost seem like they have fat in the wrong places.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like a deformed body. Like
But
it's
it
not even
is, but
normal
it
anymore.
is. But I think the issue that has been distorted, not just the bodies, is the idea. The idea that we are machines, we are little pieces that are put together somehow. And just like in a car, you can take one piece and replace it, it doesn't really matter. And you just pour the diesel and it doesn't really matter. But every bit of our cells is alive, and every cell is a self-regulating system. And when that self-regulation, which is called the metabolism, when that capacity to regulate for health is disrupted by putting into our bodies synthetic molecules like high fructose corn syrup that has never existed in the world, or GMOs, glyphosate,
pesticides,
all of this disrupts the metabolism of our health. And most of the diseases, including the physically visual obesity, is because of this stealing our health. I travel the world, and wherever people eat normal diets, not industrial food, now loaded with all kinds of toxic chemicals and pesticides, people are fine. People have that balance. The balance in your body shows out as balance in proportion. And
what is the reality? You've traveled the world and seen this. What should we walk away with from you through your eyes that you have seen the reality?
America is the most diseased society today, primarily related to the food that's eaten. And this bad food culture, this toxic food culture, is being pushed on the world by the corporations through the government's help. Sadly, the government, instead of looking after the health and well-being of the people, is only looking after the profits of 5 poison makers. Warmongers, because that's where their roots are. These companies that are controlling our seed began as producers of chemicals for warfare. It is time to stop this war against our bodies.
What do you say about buying those products? I mean, what do you tell people when they go to the store? What should they be thinking when they go into the grocery store to buy food for their family?
Try and stop going to the grocery store. Try and create a local farmers market. Try and create a CSA. And if you have the luxury of a little bit of space, try and grow at least some of your food yourself. So you do not reduce food to a commodity, but recognize it is the source of life and the source of health. Good health to you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. That was an incredible interview, and I can't wait to share this with everyone.